You said it's good when guys show emotions. It's healthy.
Oh yeah, Brandon might have some really good points on this. I think I've heard it discussed that like girls don't like it when guys cry or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't.
I think it shows.
They don't.
I think it shows like that you're in a healthy place, because some things there are like are.
If I just started
sad.
crying right now, like, I know you probably. What the fuck? I did not mean to press that. Sorry.
That's how you
if
cry.
I just started crying, you're probably like, because of the conversation we were having, you know. It's probably,
Yeah. You want to know what I would think? I would think he's really stressed out. Maybe his neck hurts, because I know you have a reoccurring.
Yeah,
neck
I got some
problem.
chronic neck
You should come to
pain.
my church. You might get healing for it.
What?
We do healings. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm a man of God, but that's not how that works.
Okay. All right.
You don't have faith.
No, it's just like if I don't. Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna get into that, but
I think that men should not show all of their emotions to women, because women judge men very harshly on that. I would never cry in front of my wife.
Really?
I just wouldn't.
What if your kid died?
That's a different thing. I mean, I would try not to cry in front of my wife if my kid
To
died.
be like
Hugger.
the support.
No, yeah, I'm her foundation. I'm her strong point. I cry on my own, but if everything is going south, I want my wife to know I'm strong in that situation, and I can be. I don't have to cry. I can do that on another time. My wife is expecting me to be strong in these times. I thought about this. So I heard a guy say this: is that when my father passes away, which everybody's parent is going to pass away, I'm not going to cry at his funeral. I don't want to cry in his funeral. I want my father to know that I'm strong enough to stand up and have this conversation. I've compartmentalized what has happened. I can do that on another time. At my father's funeral, I'm gonna stand up and be strong for everybody in the building, and that's not a bad thing to do. You know, I don't want my wife to be afraid. Just say something tragic happens.
So you don't think
She looks
so what
to
do you
me
think,
to be the stable person. Go ahead.
What do you think about men thinking that women's emotion not matter?
Women's emotions don't matter.
Don't matter. Yeah, I've heard it. a
Men say
couple-
that.
Yeah, I've heard.
I mean, what do you mean? Like, if you make an emotional decision, a man shouldn't acquiesce to your
like
emotional decisions?
you say,
or-
"Oh, I feel this way." Oh, it doesn't matter how you feel.
It does matter. I mean, women's instincts to have emotions is one of the greatest things that humanity can have. That's why you need both. You need somebody who's stable, logical, and you also need the emotional component. That's why God made Adam and Eve. That's why when you're married, the best situation for children is a mother and father. You do need the emotional component. Women have instincts that men don't have, and that emotionalism kind of attracts that. But you have to be careful to not being too overly emotional.
So you think
Where
if
your
you
Cry
cry
in front of your
emotions-
daughter?
I wouldn't cry in front of anybody.
Because I asked.
I mean, I will try not to cry in front of anybody. There's compulsion for me to cry at times, and I will not do it in front of people.
Well, I had this moment with my dad, and it was this summer, and we were talking, and we each had like a glass of wine or whatever. But I was like sharing how it is hard being single and 29 and just feeling like you're like old and all this stuff, and yeah. And so I started crying, and he
wait,
actually
you started crying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
She's crying for no reason. She has nothing to worry about. You're in a great position.
Well, okay. Well. Anyways, so thank you. But and then I was crying, and he, like, and then I look over, and he is crying, and he's like, he's like, look at me, I'm a 65-year-old man. You're making a 65-year-old man cry. But it was like he saw my pain and really felt my pain, because I was like, oh, he wants me to be happy, and in that, like, that spoke so much to me, like, because I was like, he cares about me so much that my
But
pain
that's
is
your
his pain.
father. I feel like if it was a boyfriend or a husband, in that, I think it's because, I mean, obviously there's a different relationship that you have with your father than.
So
I've
you
never.
think
I
they
haven't
would
seen my
care?
father. I saw my father cry one time, and it was at his father's funeral.
So you think if
That's
a
it.
man shows his emotion makes him a less man?
No. I just think men shouldn't do it. I don't think it make you less of a man if your emotions, like, for instance, if something tragic happened and I was in the room with my wife and it caused me to start crying or something, I'm not gonna be like, I'll throw her out of the room. You gotta leave the room. You can't see me like this. It's just that I know when emotions happen to me, and I refrain from exposing that emotion in front of people.
You have never cried from a breakup or anything like that,
not
in front of the girl.
Not from a breakup.
Come on.
I've never cried from a breakup. I've been upset about a breakup. I never cried over a breakup.
Wait, no?
Do you ever just like
Men don't really.
go on
Men
YouTube
don't
to
have
watch-
that emotion to
I've
cry.
had them here crying in front of
every
Yeah, that's why you're
once
not
a
with them
week,
right now.
I like will
right?
watch
You
What?
cry once a
You
week.
say you had men cry in front of you. That's why you're not with them.
Sometimes I look up videos of like army
Yeah.
dads coming home and surprising their
No.
kids just because I want to cry, and then I'll watch it and
You
I'll
wanna
cry,
cry?
and
I've
great.
teared up and
It's
cried over stuff
healthy
like
to
that, but
cry.
I
But
don't.
not in front
Those
of the...
videos are really
I don't do
good.
that in front of people.
It's touching and wholesome. And it,
They
I don't
surprise
think
the
it's any-
kids.
it evokes something
I
in you.
cry.
Let me just be clear.
think
If a man decides that that's what he wants to do in front of his woman,
Oh my God.
then that's
Well,
what
he's
they want to
really
do.
hurt.
For me,
How
you
can you
suffer.
hold
I
your
think you
tears?
suffer in silence.
have to.
That's what I think. And when I say suffer in silence, I don't mean have these negative thoughts in your mind and
Yeah.
don't tell anybody. What I'm saying is that there are times where I'm emotionally stressed out about certain things, and I deal with them with my homies. I deal with them by myself. My wife does not need to be exposed to me breaking. Let me just
Wife doesn't have to be exposed.
just say that there's a, you see what's happening out
Do you see what's happening?
in Israel.
Do you see what's happening? Sorry,
You're
I'm,
like
being your
the
hype, I'm trying to be your
MC.
hype.
You my hype man. You gotta
I'm
hype
hype
me
man.
better than that.
I'm sorry.
You see what's happening in
Do you
Israel?
see what's happening?
I do.
Good.
In Israel, there's a conflict, right?
Are we talking?
And I'm not
about-
going
should
to
we-
get too deep
Yeah,
into
okay,
that,
okay.
but there's a conflict, and people are having to make tough decisions. Men are going to have to step up and make tough decisions. If that happened in America, and yeah, I may feel fear. There may be some emotions that I feel. I cannot display that.
And
to
your
my wife.
looks for you for protection.
Right,
Has you for protection.
I'm the one.
So you
just
have to
just
be
imagine
the-
you going to war and you got the guy on the
Yeah.
front line and he crying.
Yeah.
You like, oh, wait a minute, dude.
Then you'll be
We gonna
like-
lose this? Or you
Yeah.
like my dudes? We would do SWAT hits, and some of the dudes they were tough. They were hard around the edge, man. And you don't see them sweat. And it gives everybody encouragement to be like, man, that's the baddest mother. Then that means I need to be bad. But I will tell people, if you need to go and cry, do that stuff on the side. I'm not telling you hold it in, but go do that on the side. I've cried in the car by myself. I've cried at the smoking cigars by myself.
Oh, but you have cried.
I cry.
Okay.
I cry.
Because I had an ex
I
that
cry a lot.
He
To
has
be
never.
honest.
Well, that's what he told me.
He lying.
Never.
Everybody cries sometimes, man. I cry a lot. You got to get that out your system, especially when I be praying and I'm getting deep and I get that out of my system so I
Yeah.
can be strong for my wife and for a lot of other people. So it's nothing wrong with crying, bro. You just can't do that in front of your woman. You need to try not to do that in front of other people.
To show your
and
alpha.
related to the dating thing is
Yes.
if you're a guy and you do cry in front of your woman, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, I think you'll probably get a little bit more leeway the longer you've been with her. But like the earlier on it is, I would say that a lot of women are going to lose attraction for you if you cry in front of them. Because women, weak men are viewed as unattractive. And you can make the argument that crying can be viewed as a weakness. And you look soft when you cry. Now, and the reality is that I'm sure some guys have had the experience of being vulnerable in front of a woman or to a woman, and she either used that information against him later on in the relationship, or she just immediately lost some attraction to him. The breakup might not come immediately, but it's gonna start
part of
like
it.
it's just women are attracted to strong men. Women are not attracted to weak men. And so if there's this thing, oh, guys should be emotional in front of women, men should be vulnerable in front of women. It's not the case. It doesn't, like, women will lose attraction for you. So you want to know why men aren't vulnerable. It's because when we are, you lose attraction for us.
Well, you haven't been vulnerable in front of me because you would feel very affirmed.
That sounds, I can't say this word on YouTube, but that sounds like kind of that word that I can't say on YouTube.
I
Not
just
gonna
want.
lie. I would feel very affirmed. What would you'd hold me? What?
No premarital snuggling, but
Oh, really?
or cuddling, but.
Rip.
I don't know. I think it's not. I think weak. When I think weak, I think like, you're always sick all the time. And you're telling me about that, and you're like, oh, work is always so hard. Which I totally get that your work is hard, and your job is hard. But it's like when it's always that, I think men should more focus on their positives of like, hey, I did this and it felt good. I don't know. That's just what I
True.
think.
I would just.
Let me just add one thing. When it comes to men showing or displaying vulnerability, I think this is also can be evidenced by, for example, if a guy approaches you. Would you prefer he approaches you in a confident manner, or would you prefer if it's maybe not prefer isn't the right term. Which guy would you be more attracted to?
What makes the PQ?
Hold on. Wait, PQ, what's that?
Pussy quiver.
What the fuck? I have never heard of that.
Really?
Never heard of
that
it.
is blasphemous. You need to repent. That
It's not too.
pussy
just
Christian woman, by the way, pussy quivering.
No,
Wow, I'm gonna.
it's more mental than anything.
I've never heard PQ.
Really? Oh. Does he make the PQ? That's yeah.
She listens
Now
too
I'm
much
thinking
Cardi
of
B.
quivering pussy for some reason. I don't know. Okay.